Hello everyone. I am going to dictate you the dictation from GDBIST volume number 4. Speed will be around 100 words per minute. So be ready for the dictation. 5 seconds. Start. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, we have just now heard that divorce is not a good thing and that it should be opposed. Those who talk of a particular culture, the Hindu culture or any other culture, think that their own systems are good right from the days immemorial, but nothing has been done by them to abolish the caste system. The sati system was there in the Hindu society, and the wife had to go on fire and kill herself when the husband died. The young widow could not remarry for her whole life. There was no divorce. The society is so much changed, and the ideas which are outdated or rustic have no place in the modern society. With the expansion of education and integration, new ideas have come in, and equality of sex is the main fundamental principle of governance of modern society. In that context, I really welcome this bill, which has given some more rights and which has liberalized the provisions. Sir, before I say about this, I would like to point out that two important things which were necessary have not been considered in this bill, that is section 8 of the act. The most important recommendation of the committee on the status of women in India is that there should be compulsory registration of marriage. Sir, section 8 of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955 does not provide for compulsory registration of Hindu marriages. In fact, the UNO had made a convention in 1961 that marriages and other things should be compulsorily registered. That convention has been quoted in this report of the Parliamentary Committee on the Status of Women in India. Sir, I would like to suggest that some of the provisions in this bill should have been made more stringent. Look at section 22, the penal provision, which provides merely for a fine up to 1,000 rupees. The provision is bound to be abused by those who want to blackmail or make money by publishing the material of the divorce proceedings and separation proceedings and get away by paying a little fine. The provision should have been more stringent. It should be accompanied by imprisonment and fine both. The third important provision which has been referred to just now is in regard to repudiation. This clause in regard to repudiation is a new one. Under clause 7 of the bill, a new clause is proposed to be added to subsection 2 of section 13. This will be a test of repudiation. When the consummation takes place, there is an element of implied consent. When children are also there, it would create more problems in regard to the protection of the children. When consummation takes place, it is a sure sign that the marriage is going to be fruitful. When this is the position, I feel that such a right should not have been given. I would also like to make another point. Mr. Chairman, sir, I am glad that the institution of governor has come up for discussion, at least under the pretext of relating their emoluments. I am not against the objective of giving more salary to the governors, but I am on a different issue which has already been raised by my colleague on this side of the House. As regard the institution of governors, it is a costly anachronism. I repudiate the argument of my friend that this institution is a federal device and it is necessary to maintain this institution to maintain federalism in this country. May I ask him whether federalism will go down, will not be maintained if you abolish the institution of governors? Is it his contention that this institution is so important, unavoidable, and vital to maintain the federal character of the polity, to maintain, in other words, the equilibrium, the balance, the poise between the center and the states? In my humble view, it is not necessary. We have misused and abused the institution of governors so much and so long that we have been forced to think that without governors, federal polity cannot be maintained in the states. Suppose there is a breakdown of the constitutional machinery and law and order, and the crisis will arise when there is a serious breakdown of law and order. The government cannot control the law and order situation. I would submit that it is the question of judgment whether the law and order has failed or not. We have seen in the past that in spite of governor's rule, the president's rule in the state, law and order has not improved at all but has deteriorated. What is the remedy? Then the course is very simple. The assembly should be dissolved. In case in the election the ruling party is defeated, the governor has to call the next party, which can be done by the president. Therefore, it is not necessary to have the institution of governor in a federal polity like ours, where powers of the state are less and powers of the center are more. Regarding the appointment of governors, the less said the better. There have been no conventions or norms set by the center in appointing governors. All sorts of people are being appointed. In the olden days, at least, there was the satisfaction that the well known freedom fighters, the well known nationalists, would go as governors. But now, people who were judges, people who are bureaucrats and ex-army generals, are appointed to suit the convenience of the ruling party at the center. Therefore, my charge is there has been progressive erosion of the conventions and norms. Many a time governors have acted most ingloriously in a manner which is not befitting them, to suit the convenience of the center and the party which is the ruling party at the center. In a parliamentary system, the forum which decides the fate of the chief minister is the legislative forum.